Welcome, citizens. I'm Jay Gray, and this is The Gray Files, somewhere between black and white podcast, where we discuss conspiracy theories, deep government cover-ups, and the secrets they don't want you to know. So put on your headphones and turn down the lights. You don't want them to know you're listening. On this episode of The Gray Files with Jay Gray, we're investigating the possibility that the sinking of the Titanic isn't what you've been led to believe. It's a shipwreck of conspiracies. By the way, please like and subscribe. It's citizens like you that keep us searching for the truth. Let's dive in. No lifeboats required. The Titanic, famously dubbed the unsinkable ship, met a tragic fate on its maiden voyage in 1912. But what if the vessel that sank wasn't the Titanic at all? One of the most pervasive Titanic conspiracy theories suggests that the ill-fated ship was actually its nearly identical sister ship, the RMS Olympic. This theory, often called the Titanic switch theory, claims that a massive insurance fraud was at play. The Olympic, like the Titanic, was a luxury liner built by the White Star Line, a British shipping company. However, in September 1911, the Olympic was involved in a severe collision with the British warship HMS Hawke. The damage to the Olympic was significant, and according to proponents of the switch theory, the ship was deemed unfit for continued service. The White Star Line was allegedly facing substantial financial losses, since insurance wouldn't cover the full extent of the damage. Faced with a crippling ship and massive debt, some believe the company devised the sinister plan. According to the theory, the White Star Line swapped the Olympic with the Titanic. The freshly completed Titanic was secretly labeled as the Olympic, while the damaged Olympic took the Titanic's name. The goal? To intentionally sink the disguised Olympic on its scheduled maiden voyage, claiming the insurance payout and cutting losses. Supporters of this theory point to various inconsistencies in the wreckage. For example, the Titanic had 14 portholes on its forward sea deck, but photographs of the ship that embarked on its final voyage show 16 portholes, a feature that matches the Olympic. Additionally, some accounts claim the wreckage at the bottom of the North Atlantic bears markings consistent with the Olympic's construction. The behavior of the White Star Line's chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, also fuels speculation. Ismay survived the sinking, but his reputation was permanently tarnished. Some theorists argue that his presence on the voyage was necessary to oversee the execution of the fraudulent plan. Additionally, the absence of prominent financial figures like J.P. Morgan, a major shareholder in White Star Line, has raised questions. Morgan had initially planned the sail aboard the Titanic, but canceled at the last minute, leaving conspiracy theorists to speculate that he may have known the disaster was imminent. Survivor testimonies are also sometimes cited in support of the switch theory. Some survivors reported hearing strange creaks and groans from the ship, which some interpret as the sounds of a weakened vessel coming apart. Others mentioned a lack of enthusiasm among the crew, possibly suggesting that they were aware of the ship's compromised state. However, critics argue that the switch theory is implausible. Swapping two enormous ocean liners would have required the cooperation of thousands of workers, from shipbuilders to crew members, without any whistleblowers. Additionally, maritime insurance policies of the time would not have provided White Star with a payout large enough to justify such an elaborate scheme. Forensic analysis of the wreckage has also identified serial numbers and material conclusively matching those of the Titanic, debunking claims of a switch. While the Titanic switch theory may seem like a fantastical plot for a movie, it remains a captivating narrative that highlights society's enduring fascination with the Titanic tragedy. Whether rooted in distrust of corporate powers or simply fueled by the mystery of the ocean depths, the idea that the Titanic wasn't really the Titanic continues to spark debate and speculation to this day. While the official story points to an iceberg as the cause of the Titanic's demise, some conspiracy theorists suggest a more otherworldly explanation. The ship may have collided with an extraterrestrial object. According to this theory, a UFO or a mysterious spacecraft was the true culprit behind the sinking of the Titanic. Proponents of this idea argue that the iceberg story was a convenient cover-up to hide the existence of alien technology. They point to the strange accounts from survivors who reported witnessing unusual lights in the sky before the ship went down, Some claim that a glowing orb was seen hovering above the water in the moments leading up to the collision. These descriptions have fueled the speculation that the Titanic may have encountered an extraterrestrial craft. One theory suggests that the ship accidentally struck a cloaked UFO, which resulted in catastrophic damage. Advanced alien technology may have malfunctioned, leading to the collision. In the aftermath, the White Star Line and government officials could have conspired to suppress the truth, fearing mass hysteria if news of an extraterrestrial encounter became public knowledge. Others believe the Titanic may have been deliberately targeted. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the ship's wealthy and influential passengers were specifically targeted. The theory posits that extraterrestrial beings, aware of the Titanic's importance, sought to intervene in human affairs by eliminating key figures. After all, the sinking resulted in the deaths of prominent financiers and political figures, altering the course of global events. Supporters of the extraterrestrial impact theory often cite the ship's rapid sinking as evidence. The Titanic's reinforced hull was designed to withstand substantial force, yet it went under in just over 2 hours. Some theorists argue that the damage was far too extensive for an iceberg alone to have caused such destruction. The possibility of a high-energy impact from a UFO or advanced weapon is presented as a plausible explanation. Additionally, certain anomalies reported in the Titanic's wreckage are used to bolster the extraterrestrial theory. The unusual bending of metal beams and the ship's near-complete structural compromise are cited as signs of a powerful, instantaneous force. Some suggest that the residual traces of unknown elements or radiation could further support the theory, though no conclusive evidence has ever been officially reported. Skeptics, however, point out the overwhelming evidence supporting the iceberg collision. The ship's officers received multiple iceberg warnings on the night of the sinking, and surviving crew members consistently reported striking an iceberg. Furthermore, oceanographers and maritime historians have extensively studied the Titanic's remains, confirming the damage was consistent with an ice impact rather than an advanced energy weapon. Yet the allure of extraterrestrial involvement remains strong for some. The vastness of the universe, coupled with the enduring mystery of the Titanic, invites speculation. Could the unsinkable ship have been the victim of a cosmic accident? Was it part of a cover-up that concealed humanity's first contact with otherworldly beings? While the extraterrestrial collision theory may never be proven, it serves as a fascinating lens through which to view one of history's greatest maritime tragedies. The idea that the Titanic's final moments were shaped by the forces beyond our world keeps the legend alive, inviting curious minds to question what really happened on that fateful night in 1912. By the way, please like and subscribe. It's citizens like you that keep us searching for the truth. Another theory that has captivated imaginations for over a century is the idea that the Titanic was doomed, not by an iceberg, but by a powerful ancient curse. This theory suggests that the ship was carrying a mummified Egyptian princess, whose vengeful spirit brought about the ship's tragic end. The legend claims that an ancient Egyptian artifact known as the Unlucky Mummy was aboard the Titanic. The mummy, believed to be the remains of a high priestess or princess, was allegedly looted from its tomb and smuggled out of Egypt. According to the story, the artifact had already caused a string of misfortunes for its previous owners. Tales of death, financial ruin, and mysterious accidents followed those who possessed it. When the Titanic set sail in 1912, it said that the mummy was being transported to America by a wealthy collector. Some versions of the legend claim it was stored in the ship's cargo hold, while others suggest it was displayed in the first-class lounge for curious passengers to admire. Either way, believers argue that the curse was awakened once the artifact was brought on board. Reports of strange occurrences during the voyage further fueled the myth. Crew members allegedly heard ghostly whispers and experienced unsettling visions. Passengers supposedly complained of sudden chills and unexplained unease. Even the iceberg itself, which appeared seemingly out of nowhere on a clear night, has been described as a manifestation of the mummy's wrath. After the Titanic's sinking, rumors of the curse spread rapidly. Some survivors, desperate to rationalize the tragedy, clung to the idea that supernatural forces were at play. Sensational newspaper articles and tabloid stories embellished the tale, making the mummy's curse one of the most enduring Titanic conspiracies. However, historians and Titanic experts have debunked the curse theory. There is no verifiable evidence that a mummy or ancient artifact was on board. Cargo manifests and passenger reports make no mention of any such item, and none were recovered from the wreckage. Additionally, the so-called unlucky mummy remains on display at the British Museum in London, nowhere near the Titanic's fateful voyage. Despite the lack of evidence, the story persists. The allure of ancient curses and mystical revenge remains a powerful narrative. It taps into humanity's fascination with the unknown and our tendency to seek explanations for catastrophic events beyond mere human error. The Titanic, as one of the most infamous marine disasters in history, naturally became fertile ground for conspiracy theories. The idea that a cursed artifact, sinking the unsinkable, has a poetic and tragic quality that captures the imagination. While the true cause of the Titanic's sinking was a combination of poor navigation, high speeds, and unfortunate timing, the legend of the Pharaoh's curse endures. Whether as a ghost story passed down through generations or as fuel for modern conspiracy theories, it serves as a chilling reminder of how mythology can intertwine with history. So was the Titanic truly brought down by the vengeful spirit of an ancient Egyptian princess? Or is the tale just another ghostly embellishment in the ongoing saga of the doomed ship? The mystery, like the Titanic herself, rests silently beneath the waves, leaving us to wonder what secrets may yet remain untold. Among the many conspiracy theories surrounding the Titanic disaster, one of the most enduring and provocative is the belief that the ship was deliberately sunk to eliminate powerful individuals who opposed the creation of the Federal Reserve. This theory suggests that the sinking of the Titanic was not a mere maritime tragedy, but a calculated act of financial and political assassination. In the early 20th century, the financial landscape of the United States was dominated by wealthy bankers and industrialists who sought to centralize financial control. The establishment of a central banking system was a contentious issue, with many powerful figures opposing it. In 1910, a secret meeting took place on Jekyll Island, where influential bankers and politicians drafted the plan that would lead to the creation of the Federal Reserve. Just a few years later, in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law. According to the conspiracy theory, three of the most prominent and outspoken opponents of the Federal Reserve were Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, and John Jacob Astor. All three men were aboard the Titanic on its fateful voyage and perished in the disaster. These wealthy and influential figures had the means and influence to challenge the establishment of a central bank, and their untimely deaths conveniently removed significant opposition. Supporters of this theory point to J.P. Morgan, one of the most powerful bankers of his time and a key proponent of the Federal Reserve. Morgan had originally planned to sail on the Titanic, but canceled his trip at the last minute, further fueling speculation. Additionally, it is argued that the ship's inadequate safety measures, including the insufficient number of lifeboats, were intentionally left unaddressed to ensure the highest possible number of casualties. Furthermore, conspiracy theorists highlight the White Star Line's connection to the financial elite. The company was owned by the International Mercantile Marine Company, which was controlled by Morgan. Some believe that Morgan used its influence to orchestrate the disaster, eliminating his financial rivals in a single catastrophic event. While there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, its persistence can be attributed to the sheer number of unanswered questions that surround the Titanic's sinking. The rapid push for the Federal Reserve Act's passage following the disaster only adds to the suspicion. Additionally, the public's growing distrust of powerful financial institutions has kept this theory alive over the decades. Critics, however, argue that the theory is highly speculative and lacks credible evidence. They point out that the Titanic tragedy was a result of a series of human errors, from the ship's design flaws to the failure to respond to an iceberg warning. Moreover, targeting the Titanic as a means of assassination would have involved an impractical level of coordination and secrecy. Despite these criticisms, the notion that the Titanic was sunk as part of a grand conspiracy remains a compelling narrative for those skeptical of the official account. The story taps into a broader distrust of financial institutions and the belief that those in power will go to extreme lengths to protect their interests. Ultimately, whether viewed as historical speculation or a plausible plot, the theory that the Titanic was sunk to eliminate opponents of the Federal Reserve serves as a stark reminder of how tragedy can be intertwined with the politics of power. As with many conspiracy theories, the allure lies in questioning the official narrative and seeking hidden motives beneath the surface of historical events. Well, citizens, once again we've come to the end of another broadcast. What do you think? Is there any truth behind the conspiracy theories that surround the sinking of the Titanic? Please remember to like and subscribe so we can continue our research and bring you the information that lives somewhere between black and white. I'm Jay Gray, and thank you for listening. Have a good evening. See you next time on the Gray Files.